Welcome to episode 347 of Game Deflators podcast. My name is John, and I am joined by Ryan.
Hey, everybody, here at the Game Deflators podcast, we like to talk about games we've recently picked up, games we're currently playing, and ready, set, wave in this week's Inflation Deflation Challenge.
John Cena can't see me. That's exactly what that was the entire time. So we played some Wave Race 64 on the Nintendo 64. And Ryan, I outright just want to say we need to play some Wave Race on the GameCube after this. And I know we had talked about a little earlier that Wave Race is also on the Game Boy. So there's a lot of wave racing that has,
There's a
you know,
whole
that can
Wave
be
family.
done. Oh, yeah. Whole Wave family. All right. What else are we talking about this week?
All right, so this week we're off to the races, talking big prices in MTG as the traveling Chocobo is worth its weight in gold and then some. Then in tabletop news, a newcomer Daggerheart looks to take the leads from D&D, and we have a photo finish with a snapshot of Wave Race 64 on our Inflation Deflation Challenge.
Very nice, very fast. Now, you can
Day at
find
the
a game.
races.
You can find a Game Deflators on the GameDeflators.com, our currently up-to-date website. We're also on YouTube. Hit the little bell so you know we're on. Social media. We're going to be at Game Deflators on X, at The Game Deflators on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and Blue Sky. We're also a podcast on podcast apps. Go ahead, like, comment, share it, 5-star reviews, anything you can to spread awareness of our podcast. Always appreciate it. All right, recent pickups, Ryan. First pickup is a new board game. So I got Australian Rails. This is similar to the Dragon Rails, I think it was, I forget the name of the one I got last time now. But basically, little railroad game where you essentially draw on a map and you deliver goods from location to location. Goal is to make $250 million to make your way across the country.
Australian dollars?
Australian dollars. Oh, yeah, that's true. So it
Some
could be a little more.
dollary-doos?
Yeah. I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole. That's bait. I'm not taking it. So that was one pickup. The other pickup, I'm going to take off my headset and go grab it and hopefully not hurt myself in the process because I already cut myself a little bit picking it up. So give me a sec.
All right, everybody. Let's talk about John while he's gone. He'll never know. Oh, my God. Look at that box. It's huge. It's the biggest package John's ever held.
What was that?
I was just telling everybody what a big package that was.
Yeah, marveling over John's large package. I got it. So yeah, that's a Centurion Carbon 3D printer. It's a filament-based printer. So soon coming to a, well, really my house, not near you. We're going to be looking at dice trays and dice towers and dice jails, things of that nature.
Send me some stuff.
I will send you some stuff.
Yeah, I want more bases for my Mr. Game & Watch amiibos.
Oh, yeah, I could do that. Just send me whatever the STL file is for, and I can make that happen at that point. And then other things, right? So because of the way that this thing is set up, it's got like a smoothing, the tray that it all sits on like vibrates. And so it's able to kind of smooth things out. So you don't have that like that heavy line work. Yeah. Supposedly supposed to mitigate a lot of that. So I think that's going to be good when it comes down to making, different D&D related things. So if I'm making a larger D&D statue of some sort or some sort of dragon, that's gonna be perfect because I won't have to worry about that so much on all the little steps and little details and things of that nature. We'll see what happens. I haven't messed with it yet, but it should be pretty straight out the box, be able to use it and not have any like crazy learning curve from what I had been reading before I purchased it.
Hopefully.
But yeah, so that I picked up 4 to 6 months ago on a pre-order. It was like $300 for that. Now that tariffs are kind of in place at like 55%, I'd anticipate that thing's going to go up in price. I did notice that it came directly from California. It's made in China, but it came directly from California. So my assumption is that when the whole tariff conversation was going down, they probably shipped a bunch of materials or shipped a bunch of them like already complete to that facility in California. Yeah, to try and avoid the tariffs. So I would anticipate if that to go up maybe to $450, even higher due to tariffs, if we're talking 55%. So if you're looking at that, definitely go to Allego's website and consider it if the price is still low. But that was a pre-order price that I had. In fact, I'm kind of curious now that we're, talking about it.
Bring it up, John.
Centurion.
Consult the references.
Carbon. All right. So it's probably still $300 to be honest. No, I don't know what this website is. That's actually a pretty cool website design, though. So, all right, let's click this one. It looks like it's still $300 right now. It's still noted as pre-order, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Doesn't say
There
anything
you
about
go.
doesn't say it's sold out. Just says pre-order now. So if you're looking for one, go ahead and grab it now. So those are my pickups. As far as I'm currently playing, I'm playing Symphony of the Night, and I am in a reverse castle. I got the holy glasses, the silver and gold coin, all that good stuff that came with it. Went ahead and started progressing my way to get the good ending versus the bad ending, which is if you just kill Richter right off the bat and don't even progress beyond that. So good time so far. I'm definitely enjoying it more so than I probably thought I would have, because it is a a Castlevania game, Metroidvania, if you want to put it in those words. And I have been on this podcast say multiple times we need to stop releasing so many Metroidvanias. But this is a classic, right? It's like
This is
the
where
OG.
it came from.
Exactly. It's the OG. So it's okay if I'm playing that one. Now, if I start playing a Metroidvania that was released in 2025, then you're able to come up to me and, smack my hand and everything for it. So, yeah, I'm liking it. It's good stuff.
Nice.
Also, let's see. As far as currently playing, I was playing around some graphic design work this week for a buddy of mine, and I am officially listed on the back of the board game that he's creating called Auto Clash as the box designer. So
Cool.
he's like, put your name on it. I'm like, that works for me. So when it goes to print, I'll have my name on a board game. So Auto Clash coming to a store near you at some point. And then the other stuff that we've been playing is D&D. So we'll have a D&D article here in a little bit. But our D&D session of Strixhaven, you guys progressed into a swamp in one of our prior sessions where you battled a giant crocodile, several small crocodiles, and some water weirds. Thomas's character.
Things got weird.
Oh, yeah, that was great. Thomas's character, like, he fainted like 5-6 times or got knocked out 5 or 6 times
Something
in
like
that battle.
that, yeah.
It was stupid. So every time his character came back, I'm like, death roll. Every single time. It was great. So yeah, you guys had a little more difficult time than I thought you would have with the water weirds, but I guess if every time I land an attack, I'm able to constrict you, that's probably part of it. But I did find it a little interesting that you guys were like, we're gonna get in the water. I'm like, they can't go beyond the water, technically. So if you guys would have just stuck to the crocodiles and held your ground, you probably could have just destroyed the water weirds pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I spent the whole time trying to rescue Thomas.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Arixis, because Thomas wasn't there.
Yeah, Ryan was every single turn healing word or something on Thomas's character. It was great. So yeah, it was a lot of fun with that one. You guys then went to your normal classes, learned a few different things, and then
there was a substitute.
There was
skeptical.
There was a substitute, so you guys were super skeptical. You did do a test. The substitute did not catch certain students cheating. You all were able to cheat based on the substitute being there for that exam. You all left not thinking of anything beyond that, other than like, why is the dean who normally teaches this class not here? You were then called into the library restricted section where you saw a tome that was set up with flashing pages of red speeding through and books warping everywhere, and the restricted section basically being demolished due to all of the crazy things happening from this tome.
Chaos.
You guys jumped into a skill session or skill challenge, completed that. The tome just shut and everything went back to normal. The interior of it, I believe, was in a demonic language, so none of you were able to speak it to understand what it was.
Yeah.
But then you progressed beyond that. You then went back to talk to the professor, I believe it was, to see what was going on. And in that process, you were also talking to another student who had said, hey, the dean isn't here. It's kind of weird. And then I had you guys roll some history checks as far as you've noticed that she's nowhere to be found without this green orb that's on her. You've also noticed that several students have been sick that have come into contact with her. So you all have kind of surmised from that something is going on in campus with that particular individual and an object that they have in hand. So you guys decided to go raid her office, which was great, and only to find out
we met that hag too.
Oh yeah, you guys did meet a hag. You guys met a green hag who wanted to go on a date. So that's going to be great. I have notes on that one. I think it's Ginny's character, Fez, the foreign exchange student. who is playing. God, what is her character type again? What race? It's a bug race.
Thrycreen or
Yeah,
something?
she's a Thrycreen. That's right. So we have a Thrycreen who is wearing a possum skin hat, who will be going on a date with a green hag at this point. And I know you guys, it was funny, you guys warned her several times. She's like, well, you know, John has his shenanigans, so I got to let it happen at some point. The book actually, like, legitimately says, roll on this dice table for a green hag. And I did that. One of the few times I actually roll on a table. And that's what you guys had, green hag. So let's see. Beyond that, you guys raided the dean's office, trying to conceal yourself as a professor, and you're basically met with the Monsters Inc. Secretary, who would refuse to let you pass. You guys put her to sleep and broke into the dean's office, only to find that everything you wanted to find was not there. She was on leave. She wouldn't be returning until the masquerade ball. Jenny got angry because the professor had no information that was of value and did not want to help out. And it's like,
Imagine that.
well, I mean, come on. It was a legit, you know, process of like, okay, you're coming to this professor to say, hey, the dean is like making students sick and we need to watch her and all this other stuff. She's like, she has seemed very much normal to me. Like there hasn't been anything that's been abnormal about the dean. And then started flagging off like, yeah, like she, every time she comes back with a new artifact of some sort, she, you know, holds on to it. And it's like on her the whole time. Like it's her precious, you know, new object that she's got with her. And she referenced several occasions on which that's happened in the past. And Ginny's like not having, like, no, this isn't possible. Like, you must know something. She's like, nope, I don't know anything. Like, I am happy to help you guys in any instance to make sure that things are safe. But in this particular situation, nothing seems off with this professor from what I know. And like, it's kind of like saying, hey, this person you've known for many years, they've got character issues. And they're like, well, that's fine, but I've known them a lot longer than you. Like, that's kind of what it was. Ginny was not having it. It was hilarious, to be honest. But yeah, so you guys will have to wait to see what happens, you know, with that professor and when she gets back on the campus and how you want to handle the situation.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, but I think next session you guys are going to be doing some party planning. You're going to be assisting with materials that need to go up into the Kalema Hall, which is where the masquerade is going to be held.
Getting ready for prom.
Hey, I mean, you guys could put in security measures in
We
advance.
made suits last session too.
That's right. You guys did make suits for the masquerade.
And then after we spent an afternoon making suits, we all realized we had disguise self amulets.
Yeah. DM mistake. Completely forgot. But that's what's so confusing about the book. Because the book straight up says, like, oh, you have to research, have the students research different types of garbs and wear that they will have in the Strixhaven Ball and have them making their suits and do a fashion show and all this other stuff. Did the book forget too that we had disguised self tokens basically, or amulets, to be able to create our outfits? So we ended up making it to where that in particular is gonna be your mask, which is fair. I think that works. And then we had some fun with the suits. You know, it's not like we didn't. I know Ginny made like a possum skin suit and hat, which is great.
Yeah.
So I think what is it? Cadoris made like the disco ball, like flaky thing. Like,
yeah,
it'll be good stuff. So yeah, gotta have fun with it when we can. But I am so ready for this campaign to be done.
right. We're rolling through it. It's got a little bit of a ways left to go, it feels like, but I mean, it's interesting working with inside of the bounds, but like the school is definitely one of those things that you can't fight against. It's just its own institution, and every time we try to bring up anything, it's like, well, that's not what we're gonna do or what we think. And it's very much like, so we've got that frustration, but it keeps everything going in an interesting way.
Well, and the book very much was like, they can't come in contact with the dean. Like, that doesn't happen. And if they try to, the dean is not present. I'm like, okay, the dean's not there, guys. Like,
bye, dean.
The book told me the dean is not here. And so it makes sense, obviously. Like, I wrote it out the way I should have. But yeah, you're right. Like, there's a lot of ways that a book restricts you as to what you can and can't do. And yes, there's times where I do let you guys be very much creative and do your own thing and have fun with it. But I have to kind of stick within the parameters as well, because it's not meant to be a campaign where you guys have a choice of we need to go to this city or this city first. Like at some point you're going to go to both, but you're in a school year and you're in a very much like a time span. It's like a school year. There's no, hey, it's 2 weeks and we'll go to this city. No, like things are happening at that time. And if you're not present for it, then it happens and you're never going to know about it. So, and I've had situations like that as I've been going through, like writing some potential scenarios for where you guys could have gone. But ultimately, those things don't happen. So,
Yeah.
that is what it is. All right. So I think that's it for me. Yeah, that's it for me.
All right. So this week I got something I ordered a while ago too. I got my new deck box. It is
Nice.
holds 100 sleeve cards or so. It came with like a couple little of these plastic orange dividers, and the lid holds dice.
Oh, that's badass. I like that.
Yeah. So this is for my draft kit now. I ordered a play mat as well. That should be coming soon. I went and did Final Fantasy draft last night again, and fingers crossed, hopefully there will be enough availability to be able to do it next week as well, but we'll see. As prize support this week, I was able to get this cool little Final Fantasy like crystal D10, which is neat. And yeah, I drafted better this time. I didn't make any like draft mistakes as far as, you know, putting my pile on top of a past pack, and I felt like the judge was like hovering over me watching me draft this week. So I don't know if he was really, or if he was just keeping an eye on the guy who was next to me, because he works at the store, so they knew each other pretty well, and he might have just been kind of watching his draft and how it was going. But it was cool. I did a green white, tried to do like some landfall stuff, but there was, I don't know, there's a couple other things I had in there that were cool. The Fran and Balthier card is really fun. It gives your vehicles vigilance and something, vigilance and reach, and +1/+1. And then they have after your first combat phase, you could tap 3 to get a second combat phase, so you can attack multiple times with your vigilant vehicles. So that's like about the only way I got a win. I lost almost every other round I did, unfortunately, but I did pull a cloud, so every cloud has a silver lining.
Nice.
Yep.
Magic wise, I forgot to note, I will be playing this week coming up. I'd got my poison deck or toxic deck back in order. So I played Rob. He came over on Thursday. Actually, he came over to play some board games. And dude, I wiped the floor of his deck. He actually won 2 of his matches the week prior, and his deck was pretty good, like for what it was doing. And I just demolished him. The one game I lost is because I drew a 1 land hand and I had 1 land for like 4 turns. And so
Why didn't you mulligan?
wanted to see how I could do it, if it would work. I had all the cards that I needed. Like everything was like the correct cards. I just literally needed 1 more land and I would have been okay. It didn't matter what land it was because I had a blue-green in hand and I had blue-green cards. So it wasn't an issue. If I would have drawn a green-white or a white-blue, even another green-blue, I would have been okay. But no land came through. But out of these 6 matches we played, I beat him in 5.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and then we played board games as well that night. But continue on, sir.
So let's see. That's all that I picked up this week. I played a little bit more Risk of Rain 2, having a lot of fun with that, just trying to unlock skins and skills and try different characters out. A lot of the characters are so different, and it's pretty fun to try out somebody new. We also tried playing on the monsoon difficulty, which is like the hardest mode, and it's just like, oh my god, it's so much more brutal and so much faster. So like, I think I mentioned in the game before, the longer you're playing, the more difficult the game gets. It just kind of has an ever escalating difficulty. So normally you'd be able to beat the first level on Drizzle like maybe before you even get out of easy, And this, it's like you're most of the way through medium by the time you finish the first level. So by the time you're like 3 levels in, you're like the equivalent of like real late game already on the difficulty. So it was tough. We died a lot. There was we did not get all the way to our goal marker before we all got smoked, but it was fun to try. We'll probably keep trying it again. And then finally, this coming up week, Pokemon TCG Pocket gets its next expansion, EV Grove, which looks like it's going to be a lot more fun and a lot more um, just cards that I'm generally going to be more interested in. The Ultra Beast just kind of missed me for this set, so that's fine. I got a bunch of hourglasses saved up. So hopefully that'll be a pretty good set. I mean, it's weird they're going to do another single pack set again already, and that'll probably be good for like a month, and then hopefully they have a double pack again after that. We'll see, but it is cool to see that the theming can be whatever they kind of decide. One of the YouTubers I watched, Spraggle's Pocket, he actually kind of called this. He was like putting up a video, I think on Monday or something. It was definitely a couple days before the announcement happened. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I bet at some point they'll do like an EV themed set with all the evolutions in it." Boom, right there it is. So, it looks like it'll be fun. We'll check it out. We'll see what's up.
I need to give you access to my account so you can just purge it, take whatever you want.
I mean, it's harder than you think to get the actual stuff that you would want over, just because there's such a limit on how much trading you can really do.
Yeah,
With the expense of the currency needed, and then like the tokens that need to recharge. But then in addition to that, you can only trade up to 1-star rarity. So there's
so dumb.
just there's probably like a few cards that I could get from you to like help me complete some old sets, but for the most part, the only things I really trade is if I'm missing something, or if I want like 2 of something to make a deck, or I try to trade over most of like the trainer and tool cards and stuff like that, just so that I can uh, burn those to get the what do they even call the effect things again? I forget. But like
It's been a while. Yeah, I haven't messed with it in a long
like
time.
the sparkle treatments or whatever that you put on the cards. So we'll see. I'm I'm excited for it, but I've also kind of reached the point where I've been dropping down my engagement with it. So we'll see
Yeah.
if this actually pulls me back or not.
Yeah, I've been out for so long, and I mean, I've talked about before, a lot of it's just due to the nature of that type of game. Like
Mhm.
MTG Arena, I could jump in right now, open up a bunch of packs. I'm guaranteed a rare. I'm guaranteed like the ability to play with more at my disposal, right? Versus TCG Pockets, 5 cards. You're not always guaranteed a rare, but pull rates have always sucked for me. And just see, it's not as easy to go about it free than like MTG Arena. MTG Arena, like you can, you know, build a deck and trade in cards and all that stuff to be able to get, what you need to have something that's competitive. In Pokemon, there's the competitive aspect of it. You have to spend money to be competitive, like
Yeah.
actual competition. And that's just not my type of game. So it was fun while it lasted, collecting a lot of the original stuff, and I had a good time with that. But beyond that, I was like, no more for me. And I'm happy. I'm not messing with it anymore.
Yeah. I've got one more thing I actually want to call out too. One of my other favorite YouTube video people, um, they just put out a new video today about Claire Obscure.
Oh,
And
nice.
I haven't finished it all yet, but it is a super deep dive, and it goes over a lot of very interesting stuff. So this is by Skill Up, and it's like an hour 43, which is way longer than most of his videos, and everybody in the comments has been like clamoring for this video to come out, I guess, for the last 2 months. But he connected with the studio, he did some interviews and got to know what was going on, and the story about this game is actually so much more interesting than you really kind of gleaned. Like, what I knew from the outside originally, I was like, oh, it's a team of like 30 people and they're all like ex Ubisoft devs. And so they've all got experience. So no wonder they made this like super awesome game. Not the case. It's 32 people and a dog, and the writer has never had anything published before, didn't go to school for creative writing or anything like that, never worked on a game. The composer didn't go to school for composition, just went for guitar and learned all the composing and everything self-taught. And they found him just through crazy happenstance on the internet. And so many other people, like the lead art director had never worked on a video game either. They were doing like Cirque du Soleil promo art. So it's an amazing group of very talented people that all just happenstance to get together under the direction of somebody who had some experience and an idea. And it's really crazy to see some of these stories and how they came together, and then ultimately what they ended up making. So I haven't finished the game, so I doubt I'll be able to finish this video. I'm expecting like a spoiler alert point to pop up to stop me, like has with any other video I've watched on Clair Obscure, because it's one of those games where it's like, wait, what do you know? I don't know if I know that. I don't know if I could talk to you about that yet. So definitely it's something that I need to get on finishing so that I can watch and learn some more about it. But yeah, definitely check out. It's safe to watch the whole first like 20 minutes at least of that video, maybe a little bit more. But it's such a cool story behind such an amazing title. So I'm excited to share that with anybody who might want to watch it.
I'll have to avoid it because I do plan on playing that game at some point, and I have very good about not knowing exactly what's going on. So, yeah. All right, let's jump into some articles. You got the first one here.
All right. So, with Crawford and Perkins in tow, Daggerheart is poised to take the tabletop crown from Dungeons and Dragons. This comes from Jack Filsinger at The Gamer. So, if you're not familiar with Critical Role, they are kind of the biggest name. I mean, Dimension 20 is actually really huge now. They sold out the Madison Square Garden for a show, but Critical Role was kind of one of my big introductions to D&D. Like I'd already been watching a couple people on YouTube, but it was definitely the first live play that I'd ever watched. And it was a lot of people's, and it was wildly popular. So popular, in fact, they've got their own Amazon cartoon show based on the characters and stories that they've told. They've run through, I think this is like their fourth or fifth campaign they're coming up on.
They're on
John's
their
wife
fourth.
has watched all of it.
Yeah, they're on their
I
fourth
watched
campaign.
like the whole first one and a lot of the second one, but it's an amazing group of very talented voice actors that came together under the DM leadership of Matt Mercer, who wrote these wonderful worlds and these creative stories for his friends to engage with, and then they decided to film it and put it on. You know, they do the D&D dream that everybody wishes they could be a part of. And so they've had so much success over the years with this, and they're going on almost a decade. And they decided to make their own tabletop RPG so that they could really take control and kind of be fully in charge of their license and destiny, and not have to be reliant on this other property that they've been kind of, you know, comfortably handcuffed to since the beginning. Well, there's been some cleanup and some change up at Hasbro, and more importantly, Wizards of the Coast, the creators of D&D. And they have lost two of their biggest names, Jeremy Crawford and Chris Perkins. They were the lead, what were they? Lead story and game design. And they've been there since like 97 and 2007. They've been stewarding D&D for, 20 plus years, and they're now working for Critical Role, or more importantly, it's
Darrington Press.
Yeah, Darrington Press is their publishing arm, but they already had a sold out pre-order, huge Kickstarter launch for this before they even got that talent in. So there's already been this big thirst among its community and other, RPG enthusiasts to see where this is going to go. And with them at the helm or, helping in any capacity, it's going to be that much bigger of a thing moving forward. So really exciting to see what all is going to come from their influence and how they're going to take this thing that's already been essentially started and really, keep it moving. And if it's ultimately going to be a challenge to Wizards and D&D's dominance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not 100% sure, right? I would think that you're going to have your hardcore fans of Critical Role that are going to want to pick this up, right? Which should be one of the reasons it's sold out. But when I told my wife that, hey, if they're considering for campaign 5 doing Daggerheart, she rolled her eyes. Like, it was the first thing. She's like, oh man, really? Like, she's not a huge fan of like the TTRPG of Daggerheart that they're looking to move forward with. And not everybody is, right? So I think you're going to have some people who are like, I would prefer Dimension 20. Um, but it's not all about that, right? It's all about the storytelling that comes from it. So yes, you have Daggerheart as the core of like what might be their campaign 5, but as long as the stories are still there, people are going to listen. Are they going to want to dive into the mechanics of Daggerheart when they kind of already know 5th edition or 3.5 and such, or whatever the new changes have been for, I guess, 5e for 2025 D&D? Who's to tell, right? Like, we might see an initial bump with these book sales as we have where it's sold out because it's Critical Role, because there's hardcore fans. But is it going to challenge D&D long term? I don't think so. I think there's a lot of TTRPGs out there. We've had Jim on the show multiple times from Craig Con, who's talked about a lot of great RPGs that are out there that have different mechanics. And are they all popular? Are they taking down D&D when they have what some would consider vastly superior RPG mechanics? No, they're not taking down D&D. And I don't think this is going to be any different.
Yeah, the biggest difference I would say is like, so I mean, from the beginning, what you're saying with your wife and her reaction is very true. A lot of people are going to outright reject, and it's kind of odd when you think about it, because for sure a lot of those people who are going to outright reject are people who learned 5th edition, and it's probably the only RPG they've ever played. So I mean, you did it once, and it's going to be a lot easier to do the second time because you don't have to learn about half the mechanics. Like, anything that works similar to D&D, you're already going to know how to do. There's really going to be a lot less learning you need to do to adapt to a new system. And I think a lot of that just comes from D&D's ubiquity, and also how people have made it malleable and forced it to kind of be these other things. Like, when you look at the history of D&D and the structure of D&D, I mean, it originated as a dungeon crawling like action game. Like, you were on a grid, you were going through big dungeons, you were getting loot because loot was levels, and that's kind of where it all started. And now it's this whole big storytelling thing where, the story is so important, and like all the character moments are so important. But really, D&D doesn't do anything to support any of that. Like, there's almost no mechanics in the game that aren't really geared towards, you know, killing monsters and passing skill checks, which, you definitely use those in like a storytelling aspect. But other RPGs are not one book of monsters, one book of how to fight monsters, and one book about how to fight people with monsters.
Yeah.
Like, so much of D&D goes into that aspect that some groups would be better served by other products. And the other big advantage that Daggerheart has is that, I mean, Critical Role is already one of the most influential advertising wings of D&D. So as soon as they start playing their own game, I mean, all of that advertising goes straight for their game. Everybody who watches any episode will be exposed to that. And since so many people use that avenue to get into D&D in the first place, I mean, this could be a whole new avenue for new people to get into Daggerheart instead, or convert.
Yeah, and that's where I don't think it takes over D&D, right? Because if you've been doing this for 10 years and you've got a major fan base that continues to watch Critical Role, and they've gotten into D&D and they've learned it, right? That's where I kind of go back to the story component. those people may continue, just they've already purchased all this great source material, tons of books that they purchased likely over the last 10 years, their dice, their miniatures, everything that you would need to play D&D. So now what you're asking them is to dive in and purchase an entirely new TTRPG, which will be as expansive, you would think, as D&D moving forward, right? Are they willing to do that? I would say the vast majority are probably not willing to jump into a new RPG like that and have to get a bunch more source material, because there are 2 books actually for Daggerheart. Any other miniatures that come from that. So that's asking a lot of that fan base.
I
But
mean,
what
D&D just put out 3 new books
they
that
did,
are basically like a half edition upgrade from the last book. So like they're already asking less
yeah.
of you than D&D is.
Yeah, but you don't have to buy those D&D books to continue playing D&D. That's
No,
the
but
point.
if you're going to be the person who's never going to buy another book because you already have your books, you're already out of the equation. But if you're a gamer person that buys game stuff, like you buy games that you're probably not going to open for a decade,
Yep.
and so do other people who watch and play games. So like that audience that's already going to buy something new, this is something new that they have the opportunity to buy.
Well, I can tell you, I'm going to buy the Daggerheart book when I get a chance to. Like, I'm going to buy
Mhm.
that content. That's not a big deal for me to buy, because I'll still flip through it and all that. Am I going to dive in and play it? Probably not. Not right
I
away.
mean,
That
you've
would, it would
already
be
played D&D so many times.
yeah. No, I know. And there's so many other campaigns and things that we could do. But the point that I'm trying to make is that a lot of those people may not go and purchase Daggerheart and start playing Daggerheart. They're going to continue watching the show because they love the voice actors, they love what they're doing, and they can continue to enjoy those stories without having to play Daggerheart. At this point, it's a show, right? And there's probably a ton of people that watch Critical Role and don't play any RPG. They just like the story component of it. So, they
But
don't
those
have a
people were never customers anyways.
no, I know, and that's the point. So I think you do have, like I said, a lot of hardcore fans that purchase Daggerheart outright. Is it going to take over D&D? I don't think so. I don't
Mhm.
think you have, yes, you got a big fan base who watches Critical Role, but those same fans are watching Dimension 20. They're also watching out of the UK. I forget, High Rollers is the other one that's big. And they've done some collaboration with Matt Mercer. So there's several other big D&D campaign focused shows that are out there. So yeah, Critical Role is by far probably the largest in terms of that fan base, but that fan base is also there due to the anime component too. So, yes, they have a big fan base. Yes, they have fans that purchase this book. Is it enough to take out the juggernaut that is D&D? No. I would say that you have way too many years of Dungeons and Dragons already built in to its existence from what, the 80s, I think it is. So you're looking at 50 plus years, right? Because they had the 50th anniversary. So you have 50 plus years of Dungeons and Dragons to what's really going to be a net new experience here. You're going to bring people in, but it's not taking out that IP at
Mhm.
all. It's just not going to. It would take decades, I think, to try and tackle that. So that's the
I
point I'm
mean,
trying to
the
make.
way that Hasbro is trying to run Wizards into the ground anyways,
Hey, never
and,
know.
with new blood there, I mean, they could go in a whole different direction. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? So I mean, time will tell, but I just don't see it taken out. Your hardcore fans are going to be the ones that are angry at Hasbro. Your more kind of casual D&D fan base that's involved in RPGs and doesn't really care about all the nitty gritty details. They're not really going to care of any of the new blood and things that are happening with Hasbro. So it'll continue to sell. It's a major IP. It's got movies. It's got TV shows. It's got all that stuff. So Magic cards that are out there in the market. Um, yeah, I don't see it going down anytime soon. Um, what I do see going down, though, is the eventual price on Magic the Gathering cards for Final Fantasy. So somebody already recently tried to sell the Golden Chocobo. So for anybody that doesn't know, there are serialized versions of these gold chocobos that are in market and up to 77. And somebody got one recently and tried to sell it for $50,000. So this original story came from Ethan Gack at Kotaku. So these gold chocobos are only coming out of the collector boosters, which are ranging like $800+, probably more now, due to this and those price points. They have the traveling chocobo, a gold version. They've got like a pink and black and blue. They've got all the different versions, and each of those selling for upwards of $1,500 to $3,000 for foil versions. But the serial version is what's most sought after, kind of similar to, like, akin to the One Ring
The
like the
77 rings.
yeah, the one ring, except this is 77 rings. From a price point standpoint, though, if you were to gather all 77 of these Chocobo and try and sell them at the same time, their value would exceed that of the one ring, technically, based on those figures. But I guess overall, Ryan, somebody's trying to make a bunch of money right off the bat. I do see long term. What I can see happening, by the way, is I'm pretty sure they said that this is going to be limited. These collector boosters due to the 77 serialized cards. I can see them coming out with like new collector boosters down the road that don't include the serialized cards, so that way people can continue to buy that product. It would be dumb of them to just limit it, you know, as it is now. I can see them coming through and trying to milk that cow. Uh, so I do see prices going down from that. And then you had mentioned like, inventory concerns with Final Fantasy Magic Gathering and not being able to pick it up beyond X amount of drafts. I do see that kind of, stabilizing a bit. There is a new set coming out pretty soon.
They said there's going to be reprints in July.
Yeah, you're going to have reprints. You have a new set coming out for Magic pretty soon. Your hardcore players are going to, of course, start to open up packs for those other sets. This will go down in price long term. And as I said, because of the amount of cards that are being opened right now, and then also when it gets reprinted in July, as you noted, these prices are going to drop. They have to. They're not going to stay up forever.
Flood.
Yeah, I think the market's going to get flooded. I'll stick to that one. The Gold Chocobo is a different situation, with it being limited to 77. But the other ones, if they start continuing to produce the collector boosters, all of this will go down in price. So,
nice.
Any thoughts? Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's one of those situations where it's a shame that it's like a premium product and it's just kind of in short supply, so everybody's kind of got to be on edge about it. Unfortunately, with the way scalpers and everything are these days, it just makes it so much harder to just enjoy stuff anymore. So I really do hope that the prices come down and the availability goes up. I do really want to get a box of it to hang on to and bring some to draft down in Arizona with some people at some point in time. That'd be fun. This is going to be, one of those sets that I think we'll probably remember for a long time, especially because it's been the best selling one ever. I mean, we'll see, where that goes after this with more universes beyond. Like they just announced at MagicCon, the last Airbender set. It showed off an Eng card, and I mean that's going to be a whole new world of this too. I mean, well, I guess not, because they've already crossed over with SpongeBob, so Nickelodeon's already opened that can.
Yeah, one of the shops that I've been going to out here, out in AJ actually, which would have been cool if I knew about it before, because you and I could have gone to play Standard and stuff there. They have a whole bunch of like SpongeBob cards in the case right now.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm not a big fan of those cards. They look so dumb to me. It's like they took a meme and just threw it on paper or on cardboard. So yeah, not a huge fan of all this. Airbender will be pretty cool to look at, but it's not exactly a card set that I'm happy to find. We've discussed it, right? The Final Fantasy set is very much kind of in line with what I would expect for Magic the Gathering. Spider-Man, SpongeBob, Assassin's Creed, Airbender, like none of that to me says Magic the Gathering. So
well, and it's not even just about it being a video game either, because like the Street Fighter didn't seem like it was real appropriate either.
Yeah, exactly. So Walking Dead, when they did that, Jurassic Park was a little more in line with, because they had dinosaurs, Vicoria and all that. But like a lot of these universes beyond sets, it's just like, I'm like, that's dumb, right? Like I would almost rather them release a bunch of random cards that have kind of come through over time with like new stylized art, right? Like give me a whole set that's stained glass or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think those types of things could be pretty cool as well in terms of like collectability and
yeah, just the secret layer approach versus like the whole set approach was better.
Yeah.
Like it'd be cool to have like, I don't know, a 5 set, xenomorph, alien, like just 5 cards out of a secret layer. But like you would never want to see like a whole alien like set, just stretching that IP to the limit, trying to put it on 200 cards or whatever.
I really want to see Magic go back to blocks where it was you know, you had the Mirrodin block or the Lauren block or whatever it was, like, and you had specific sets that were within that block of 3,
And it kind of
right?
evolved the story through them.
Yeah, so, like, within that world, you had a lot of cool things like Kifkins and elves and tree folk and all, like, they were built into that world. There were fairies, all of that. You had the Alara block, which really, broke in with a lot of the big multi-color cards. Progenitus was in that block. You had the entire mechanic of Cascade was introduced there. Send triplets, like, all that really cool stuff. Bloodbraid Elf, a lot of cool things in that. So I wish they would go back to that block style format and, you know, just really kind of hone in on that. You know, hey, these 3 sets are part of this like crazy event that's happening in Magic. And there's a lot of storytelling that's coming from this. Like, really get people engaged back in the lore of Magic and versus the chasing the IPs. Uh, you know, that to me, when you can bridge in the story and actually bring meaning to those cards and then have some cool things that are happening in the tournaments, like, that's when Magic was at its best. I enjoy playing Magic still because I have friends that I play with, right? And we can sit back, we can enjoy, it can be competitive, we can sit at a table, chat, have drinks, and laugh. Like, that's a big part of it, the community aspect.
Yeah, it's
But
just not Magic without the Gathering.
yeah, exactly. It's not Magic without the Gathering. But as far as the lore and the cards, that's what really drew me into Magic initially, was all the cool artwork and things that were happening on the back end, like the Planeswalker fights and
I
all
know
that
you're
stuff. Like,
sleeved up with
yeah,
Magic art.
yeah, I got Magic on my arm, right? So yeah, really cool stuff that came from that. But yeah, I just wish I go back to blocks. Okay,
John likes
let's
playing with blocks.
I like playing with blocks. All right, let's go into our inflation deflation. So Wave Race 64. It was developed by Nintendo Analysis and Development Team, published by Nintendo, directed by Katsuya Iguchi, Shinya Takahashi. It was released in November of 1996. It is a racing game, and the reception is about 9 out of 10. Ryan, this is where I would normally say, Ryan, tell us about the game. But your description is so short. It's a racing game featuring jet skis. That's it.
I mean, there's not really much to it. I guess there's some dolphins in there. At the time, it was really well praised for its water,
Yeah.
which still looks pretty good for
Lifelike.
N64 water.
Yeah. Honestly, the graphics held up really well in this one.
Yeah,
I
Go ahead.
I was pleasantly surprised. In most instances where you play an N64 game, you're like, man, this looks like shit. No, this was actually pretty solid. Like, I was able to go through and have no problems, finding my way through I guess the track, right? That you're racing in. And, like you said, the water elements are great. I think they still are to an extent. Obviously, it's not like modern day water elements, but it's still there. And the fluidity of the game, pun intended, very easy to control, great audio. I do love the announcer, like, really
Mhm.
adding in that vibe of like how exciting this
Yeah, it
world
all
is
came
and what
back to
you're
me when I heard it.
doing. Yeah, when I boosted on and I was looking at some comments that somebody had in a thread when I was looking up like back end details on this, and somebody's like, you boot up this game and it's a time machine if you
Mhm.
were, living in the 90s. And I just instantly like went back and was like, oh, I remember going to my cousin's house and sitting down on his bed and booting up Wave Race for the first time and playing it. Like, just instantly, vivid memory of that happening with this game. And I haven't really had that with some of these other titles that we've
Mhm.
played on these consoles, but this one was just very clear cut and dry. Like, no, you were here at this point in time at this person's house, and these were the actions that you took. And we're talking almost 30 years ago that happened. So,
Yeah, I never had Wave Race myself, but it's definitely one of those, like, I remember my friend's bedroom and I was playing Wave Race 64.
yep.
And it's a really solid title. I mean, I think, was it a launch title for the N64?
I don't believe it
I
was.
don't remember.
Let's see.
Uh,
I'll just Google it really quick. N64 launch titles
but
list.
it was like one of the first games I played. There was a bunch of really good racing games. I was a Star Wars pod racer is the one that I actually own. But the bright colors, the great water effects, the fun gameplay. This was definitely one of those like more arcadey racers that used to be more common. Like, I think they had they had like some kind of jet ski racing game like in arcades that you would go and like sit down
Yeah.
on like a big jet ski, and it was kind of, that brought home. And that was such a big thing back then, was like trying to get that full like real arcade experience at home and like as great of a package. And go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, as far as launch title, no, it was not an initial launch
Okay.
title. Uh, but yeah, I mean, like it was honestly like different because you had Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo, and so
Hmm.
were you so used to that, and I guess you had F-Zero as well. Wave Race was just totally out there, right? Like I remember playing Wave Race on the playground when I was in elementary school. Like we were literally like, I'm whatever color jet ski, and we would literally like run around the playground and do stuff like that. Like there was nothing else like it, I think, on the market at that point.
Yeah.
In the home setting, that is.
And there's not a whole lot else by Nintendo that's really like it either. Like this is just like a very grounded, normal racing game without like a bunch of crazy, creative or different Nintendo stuff going on. Like it's so far from like a Mario Kart or, Diddy Kong Racing, which I mean, that's not like first party Nintendo, but just like
Yeah.
it was unlike anything else really that I was playing on the N64. That was just kind of a straightforward title.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue for Pilot Wing 64,
Mm,
being kind of similar in a sense, but there was something different about like jet skis in particular that really just kind of stood out when we were younger. Um, yeah, I mean, overall, I still think it's a great game. It's one of the few N64 games I think I could say that about in today's day and age. Uh, as I noted, controls are great, audio is great, the racing was great. There's not a whole lot to hate about this title.
yeah, there's not a whole lot to say either. I mean, it's pretty straight to the point. There's not like a bunch of other modes or anything. There's like some time trial and just like some racing to be had, and you can chase a dolphin around in practice mode or whatever.
Well,
But
and you have competitive mode where you can, well, not competitive mode in per se, but like, we could play against each other, right? And
yeah.
race. And then you have your standard championship mode that's from it. So not a whole lot of levels are built into the game. So it's not like a super expansive title. Uh,
Hmm.
but for what it is, yeah, there's not a lot to talk about, but it's still in its own right a great game. I mean,
Yeah.
there's three Wave Race titles that are out there: Game Boy, N64, and GameCube. We haven't done GameCube yet. I think we do that next week. I think that'd be a good option, just because it's so fresh and we can compare.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like you said, not a whole lot to talk about, but not a lot out there either that's similar.
Well, getting down to brass tacks with it. We got a complete inbox copy run you 54.95 that peaked at 76.65 back in January of 2023, is currently trending up. Loose copy run you $14, peaked at 15.31 in April of 2025, and that's trending up as well. You can also get access to it on digital through the annual NSO subscription with the expansion pass for the N64, and that'll run you $79.99 annually.
Yeah.
So I think this might be, it's not very often that we see the digital version being like that much more than how you can play it, just on classic hardware. Even like the complete in box price is cheaper than a year worth of NSO. And obviously you would play a bunch of other stuff if you had that year on NSO. But Wave Race 64, great looking box.
Yeah.
Absolutely great looking box. And for 55 bucks, like, I don't know, we haven't done a whole lot of, older games where the complete in box like is actually really reasonable, and this one has like a pretty good box. So this is one of those cases where I would say if you're trying to go for like a complete inbox collection, or you
You like
really
jet
like
skis.
jet skis, or this cover just speaks to you, I wouldn't be mad at getting a complete inbox one.
Yeah, it's a
But
nostalgia piece. Like if you're feeling nostalgic and you want a couple pieces of your childhood, $55 is not bad
yeah,
for a complete game. I would say as far as loose is concerned, though, at $14, I would say it's deflated. I mean, if you found it for
yeah,
$15 to $20, it's still worthwhile at that price point. You're still going to have a lot of fun, and it's definitely I think a game that if you had 8-year-old or something sitting in your house, a kid below the age of 10, that is playing video games, this would be a great game to boot up and hey,
Mhm.
look what I was playing, and it wouldn't look like crap
Yeah,
basically for that kid, right? So yeah, I think this one's deflated, in my opinion.
all around.
Yeah. And in terms of overall review, I know it's a 9 out of 10. I think it's a little bit of nostalgia and for the time, I would probably say about 8 out of 10, maybe 7 at the worst for this title. When you think about, what's actually content-wise, what's involved in the game. Like I said, not a lot to talk about. 7 to 8 out of 10 is probably where I would stand to on this.
Cool.
Cool. All right. So next week, I guess the GameCube version. We'll see how that
Checking
holds
it
up.
out.
Yeah, I saw
Hitting
some
the
video.
water again.
I was watching some videos of it, and it actually looks really good on the GameCube. So I'm excited to boot that up and see how it goes. And it'll give me an opportunity to finally test my physical copy.
There you go.
I have literally never put it in the system before, but I picked it up in a long time ago. So, all right, man. Until then, this has been episode 347 of the Game Deflators podcast. My name's John.
I'm Ryan.
And thanks for listening.